You may think that salvation comes from being special and chosen and part of some elite system. Dream on. Elitism is very dark, as it excludes others. In fact, deliverance comes from ordinary and human, and not needing to be special. Drop being special and you are already walking in the right direction. Part of the reverse perception I speak of is hard to see, for we're all programmed to seek satisfaction and to seek the attention of others. The ego soon builds a tower for you to live in. It feels safer. It protects you from dealing with people and experiencing pain and disappointment. You're elevated in your mind, anyway, above the crowd. From there you can gaze down on humanity through your separation and your imagined specialness, and you could sell yourself the idea that the destiny of ordinary people is not your destiny, that you've been elevated and chosen and made special. That is what the ego likes, to be higher and distant from others. That is why the ego likes observers and glamour. Observers make the ivory tower of the ego more real. And that is why people boast and show off and make a great story of their minor achievements. They seek recognition and status. They seek altitude for their ivory tower. The ivory tower is sustained by the electricity of the ego. The more electricity a person has, the more they can be moody and capricious and self-centered. The moody, demanding pop star is an example of the electricity of the ego running rampant. To sustain the power of their importance and their divine-like status, they need constant attention, constant input. It's a high-maintenance lifestyle. The ego drives people to seek that status and a position over others. Glitzy stuff, flashy cars, the red carpet, the VIP lounge, all create attention. The attention of others creates electricity for the ego. And through that incoming energy, the ego seeks to falsely elevate itself. It's our ego's way of raising itself up to the center stage. We seek electricity, external energy sources to hold us up. It helps us feel safe and less vulnerable. That is the illusion of specialness that comes from the ego's sense of separation. But that specialness often comes at a terrible price. For in the isolation of elitism and the ivory tower, you become ever so slightly mad. The electricity of the tower fries you in the end, as you will need more and more and more to keep the illusion going. It blinds you to reason. You only see your mind and your ideals and your terms and definitions. The other 6 billion people here on Earth are more or less irrelevant, except as how they might feed the ego's needs. You're on top of the tower with an old rusty gun, marching up and down, guarding the edifice of your ideals. It doesn't really matter if your ideals are tiring you out or if they're gradually killing you, as long as you're king or queen of the tower, and as long as you can shut out pollution in the form of contradictions of the ego and or the presence of other humans and other ideas. Of course, at the top of the tower, the madman or the madwoman isn't actually any safer than anyone else. The height is an illusion, and the protection is arbitrary at the very least. The reason is that the tower costs time and money and stress to maintain. You have to buy a car that is perhaps more than you can afford. Maybe you live in a place that has too much rent, that has trappings that have to be financed, and the ego will want this and that and then another thing. And soon you are its slave, rushing about trying to give it what it wants. And it usually wants one thing after the next. Take a moment and take a good look. What is your ivory tower made of? Are you a prisoner of stress and your ideals? Are you spiritually trapped? And being up there can make you lonely and isolated, and usually you'll be very cold spiritually, even though you may pretend to be social and warm, while in fact you see everyone as dispensable, and perhaps you treat them with disdain and indifference. Your ego acts as the ministry of authorized information. It's up in its madhouse, and anyone contradicting the edicts of the Minister of Information is due for annihilation, or you'll banish them from your world and send them away. People that contradict information you hold to be true have to be made wrong and belittled. This is the controlling mechanism of the dark side of mankind. It's our attempt to impose ourselves on others. We know best. We are the divinely selected ones, the chosen ones. All others must be heretics and heathens because they don't agree with us. And of course, they are not quite as special and chosen as the fool on the tower, for he or she is divinely selected to be something very important and very special. Most religions and most spiritual groups and philosophies, they create the sense of the enlightened being as being a superior being. Here are the ignorant people, and here is the enlightened bubba on the path who has the answer, and so on. So it's this idea of, let's say, the Pope is infallible, that this bubba over here is enlightened. And of course, these are elitist concepts. They are concepts that seek to raise a human above others. And so we must worship this being and kiss his toe because he's enlightened. So you read these documents, you read this dogma, and they seek to entrap you. They seek to take you away from where you find yourself, the society and the ideas that you were born with or those that you feel comfortable with. And they seek to impose another set of rules. And those set of rules almost always involve subjugating yourself to them. To the meditation group, to the church, to the ashram, to the whatever it is. So they're all basically forms of entrapment. And what we seek to do is to become unentrapped, so to speak. When you're cold and you seek domination and control over others, or you seek vengeance, or you wish others ill, you fall into the arms of the darker forces. It's easy to do. We all fall the other way at some point in our lives, as the ego likes power, and it seeks vengeance, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. All sounds pleasing to the ego, but that is the loveless world of the phony self. There you can find justification for all sorts of nastiness and silent crimes against humanity. It takes a brave person to go the other way and offer forgiveness instead of seeking vengeance.